everyone, and welcome to Decline Invite Short Notice. This could have been an email. So, when I was doing Decline Invite, a lot of the feedback I got was the content was great. It was just really long, and it was. So, I decided behind the scenes to think of ways of what we could do to make that better, shorter, easier to digest, and I came up with an idea. Keep the great content that is happening every day still at Decline Invite on the podcast, but why don't we do a spin-off? Why don't we do a version that we call Short Notice? And we came up with the tagline, this could have been an email, as everyone in corporate or in business has always had the pleasure of a meeting of like, why was I here? This could have just been an email. That's the shtick of this. So, with no further ado, I am Ryan Drumheller, the extroverted IT leader. You might know me as from such things as Decline Invite, the podcast, or the recently announced Stellarhorn Group on LinkedIn and Facebook. So, we're going to dive right into it and we'll just kind of feel out this process and make adjustments as time goes on. I'm sure everybody sees the brand new background logo and everything. We've got a brand new created microphone for this, and we're just going to rock this out. So the theme of this episode is AI and what everyone is getting wrong. We're going right into it. So, I mean, if you're implementing AI right now, there's a very real chance that you're doing it wrong. And not because you don't have the tools, but because you don't have the strategy. You don't know what to do. You're just kind of reacting off everything you're reading or what you're hearing or what people are telling you. But I'm going to kind of go, right into it. So over the course of my 20 years in IT and business, I've seen all kinds of trends. They've happened before in my time. They'll happen after my time. AI is no different. AI is the hot topic right now, in the market. But I'm seeing all kinds of different ways it's being utilized and, good and bad, really. So, the very first topic that comes to my mind is, how are everybody using it daily? So, like, for instance, for me, my most very recent endeavor with AI was designing my website for Stellarhorn. And I was using Gemini, I was using ChatGPT, I have Perplexity as well. I didn't really use it too much for this. I ended up getting Claude along the way. It was on my list of things to do, got it anyways. And I very much discovered what each of those were good and bad at. Mix in, Copilot, in a business case with a lot of Microsoft shops. And there's so many others out there. Like I've used Gamma for making presentations, which is amazing. But I think the biggest thing that we're getting on is that all of them have different use cases and they're used for something different and they're great at some things and not so great at other things. And that's the most important thing because that's going to bring me to a huge point that I'm seeing in business everywhere is most businesses are just turning on one and saying, cool, we have AI. Awesome. Never mind the fact about governance, security, all of that. We'll get to those topics probably in future episodes. But if you're just turning on one, my question is, how did you assess the business? Like, what is your business use case that you decided that that was the AI that you were going to turn on? And in a lot of cases, from what I have seen, was well, we already had Microsoft, so we just figured we'd add Copilot, and that's just naturally where we went. Was that right? Was that wrong? What was the assessment you did to get there? I've got questions, and I think a lot of people that are working in IT and the business should know that that is a question to ask and answer when you're going into this. And if your IT department is actually answering the question for you, we're already off base. We're already wrong. The business should drive the actual business related decisions, and IT should be there to support that, give options, give pros and cons, make sure that they're being a good partner by also saying, hey, are you thinking about X, Y, and Z? But really, the business itself should be going, what do we want out of this experience and tool? And I don't really see that in most cases today. And that's a huge problem because, like, Copilot, really great for Microsoft tooling. Yeah, it's gotten better, but is it anywhere near, what it can be, what it should be? Is it the best thing on the market? But what is it that you do as a business is the number one question with that. Are you doing such business-like fashion that Microsoft Copilot is what your business should be utilizing? Or here's a wild take, as an individual who has multiple AI subscriptions to do different things, maybe you need different things. And unfortunately, that is a cost, but it is a cost of doing business. And if you measure it in such a way that you can show that you're getting the value from this tool, you're seeing, things that were repetitive no longer being repetitive, it's being replaced by AI, or the time to do something that used to take us hours is now taking us minutes or less, or whatever that is, goes down, then you can justify the cost and then have a clear explanation of, this is what we use, for example, Copilot for, this is what we use ChatGPT for, this is what we use Claude for, etc. Those are all options that I am not seeing utilized as much as it should be. I don't want to say that any of these things are not happening in business or at any shop, because I'm sure there are some out there that are absolutely figuring it out, learning, or just getting it right out of the gate. And that's excellent. I'm just saying that the majority of what I have seen is not that case. And in a lot of cases, a lot of these shops are so vastly behind the curve. They're reactive instead of proactive, and that's just a different topic altogether. So, what am I seeing really, where businesses are getting that wrong? I mean, they're looking at it as like a tool first mindset. They're like, cool, we got AI and it does this thing now. Awesome. This is what we're doing. Not true. I mean, I get that's where they're going with it, but that's not necessarily true at all. They're not defining the problem. Like, why are you getting AI? Are you just getting it because you can? Well, sure, that's a choice. And I can tell you probably what's going to happen with that. But if you're looking at it from okay, AI can really help us, where can they help you? What things across all areas of the business are things that's like, man, if I had a greatest hits list, or if I could remove this 20 to 30 hour, 2 hours of my day that I just sit in either meetings or writing these emails or taking these notes or these repetitive tasks and more. I mean, I don't want to stop it like that. Those are the only things, but if you're not looking at it from that perspective of where you can actually save time and then actually spend it, working on the business, working as a leader, bringing value to that business now from your human capacity, you've already failed out of the gate and you need to go back to the beginning and start over. Lack of governance. I don't know how many times I've seen this where it's like, again, not to pick on Copilot, but that's the easiest one, is people with Microsoft shops. You just turned on Microsoft Copilot and it's there. Go use it, everybody. Yay. Like, we're great. Wrong. Just flat out completely wrong. Like, you don't have a lack of governance in there. How do you know what somebody is doing, what they're allowed to do? How, as a business user, do I know what I can and can't put into there? Do you have it set up in such a way that it's actually secure? It actually knows not to send something out into the wild, proprietary, business information that your competitors can now use and use against you. How do you have all of these things set up? That starts with governance. And it starts with having a representative across the business in all these different areas, meeting in a normalized cadence, making sure that they're reviewing things, making sure that people can come and ask questions as well to get more educated and know what you guys, as a governing unit, should be putting out to help with that actual business itself. Again, the sensitive data being shared without controls. I can tell you right now that I know a lot of businesses that I have personally sat down, interviewed with, thought about possibly working at, and just what I'm hearing, that they're not either seeing or hiding, whatever the angle is. All of that data is exposed. I can tell you, I can find it, I can show you users are using a personal account, a free account, which is even worse, just throwing stuff into there because you're not actually securing it. You're not actually taking the initiative and control to say, hey, times have changed. We have to adapt with the times, and this means we have to do this. And if that means that you cannot do something else that you were doing day by day, that's a conversation from a business perspective. Say, hey, this is the risk, astronomical, versus this. We're going to choose to focus on this business. What do? Can we get more budget? Can we offload something? Can we bring in a vendor to do what? Like, those are all discussions that should actually be taking place. And then, just clearly from a leadership standpoint, who owns it? Somebody needs to actually own that. And they need to drive that day in, day out. Like, it is now part of the day. You probably should even think about larger organizations of having somebody actually look over just AI in general. It is that big now. For smaller companies and whatnot, you can hire that out. Fractional is a great way to look at that, to get somebody trained up in a team to have that part of their day-to-day duties, to keep an eye on that. But then, also, how do I set up the governance? How do I make the committees? How do I make sure it's secure? All of those things are learnable things that you can go out and hire, which takes me right into, training and enablement. I mean, that's great that you turned something on and you told people in an email that it exists. Wonderful. Does the person who may not be technically savvy, who may know enough on how to do their job, do they know what that is? Like, I go back to the phishing emails from a security standpoint. Like, yay, we passed phishing. We sent out the phishing thing, and our users know how to push a phishing button. We now know what phishing. Like, that's that's just not true. And this is no different. You need to actually educate and train your users. You probably need to see what their absorption rate is. I mean, businesses are going to know their own employees better than anybody else. So you guys would know how to actually figure out what is actually needed, right? Do we need more training? Do we need less training? Is a couple recorded videos good? Is a few emails good? Or do we need to do some in person? Do we need to do some one on ones? Do we need to send somebody to a business area, do some training, or do some quarterly, whatever that is? It actually needs to be planned and take place. So, I mean, those are just some of the rough nightmare topics that I've absolutely seen, and I have absolutely seen this with my own eyes from a bad capacity. I can tell you there is a lot of local businesses near me that is scary to be a customer. I will say that knowing what those IT organizations look like, what that planning looks like, and just not having somebody come in and ask them the tough questions, and then those organizations to have what I call the mirror convos and go, do we actually know, or do we have to admit that we don't, and maybe we need some help and some best guidance and how to get there. And by doing that, we're actually spending the appropriate money to make sure we don't lose money. Because as soon as that gets uncovered and is provable that that customer data is out there, your chance at actually doing it appropriately is over because now you're labeled. It's kind of like ransomware getting hacked. It's kind of on the vein of that. So, and speaking with it bad, let's speak a little bit about some of the good things. I've absolutely seen some great use cases out there. I have seen some, I've seen some AI bots come into place, and that term already is kind of a negative term, but I'm talking about like the under the hood stuff, the really repetitive stuff that you don't even know it's going on, but you're no longer spending your time daily doing that because AI is taking care of it. That's some of the great stuff that it can actually do. If you're in marketing or graphic design, it can be a little troublesome at times. I can tell you that my graphic design work with, say, Gemini and ChatGPT, for example, have been a little hit and miss. I've absolutely nailed it and absolutely have argued and spent too much time with it to get it to do what I want. Some of my best success recently has been with Claude, and that's just not because I'm a fan of any which one. Like I just mentioned at the start of this, I just recently paid for a subscription, just started using it and figuring out what it's good at versus what some of the other ones are good and not so great at. And Claude came in and saved my bacon on a couple of the things that I was working on specifically involving coding and a couple of my graphics that I was working on. And, that's from the point of view of what I'm putting into it. I think that's important too. So the biggest thing I would say is what good looks like. Spend some time. This is just personally and business. Spend some time learning how to script in terms of prompting. So when I say scripting, I mean like script out a prompt of what you know works really well and paste that in repetitively to get what you want. And that'll cut down on time. I would say for like graphic design, I think things like Canva with AI, tied into it is like a best of both worlds because you can kind of save a lot of time on if you had a script to be able to paste in that made you a lot of like say the background work or some of the repetitive time sync stuff where now you can go ahead and you can touch it up with your personal detail, make the logo look as crisp as you want, place it wherever that you want manually to make that look how that you actually want. I think that's a great blend of both worlds. Going into, having like defined guardrails. I have worked in an organization that had really great AI governance. They had it really defined. They had an actual governance committee. Anybody that wanting to use AI had to go there and pitch their idea and why. And this governance committee would essentially give a, yes, no. If yes, here's the guardrails. Here's what you can do within the bounds of that, almost like a sandbox, or think of a bowling lane with, bumpers down the sides. You can go this far with it. Anything else, you have to come back, almost like a change notice. This is now different. So come back and talk, have that conversation. And with those kind of conversations, that committee, all business leaders, learned what the actual business was doing collectively, or what they had challenges at, or what they wanted to improve, which is fantastic because now they're not only getting the AI governance portion done, but they're also learning what they need to do, adapt, and change as a business, which is just phenomenal value. They started to embed it into, like workflows. They had like an augmentation, mindset. But then they're measuring the outcomes and not necessarily worried about the usage so much. Like, absolutely, you want to see like what you're paying for something, and then how much usage the business is getting. But if you're measuring the outcomes, you're measuring value, you're measuring those kind of things, it kind of supersedes like how much is it actually being used. It's not really as important how much a particular individual is using it, as much as the business outcomes that are coming out of that. If that number is greater in the end in terms of saving value in the bottom dollar, then it's a plus at the end of the day. I've also seen just AI done in such a beautiful way in terms of security. I won't say the particular product. I don't necessarily know where it's at these days, but I've seen it done in such a way where essentially nothing left the network without going through like an internal host that was built. It was scanned for anything that they had manually built in there. Like they did have to manually build, like, hey, don't let salaries go out. Don't let these kinds of sensitive documents go out. And they had to go through a labeling process, a data cleanse process. But by doing all of that and getting that all into place, they now were minimizing their risk even more so by saying these documents, which they did a great job of not even being able to get off the network. But these documents cannot leave our network without going through this. And if this check essentially says no, that's where it dies. It stops. And then they started branding in messages, hey, see X policy, see X training, see whatever, as in Y. And then if a change was needed, back to that AA governance. That they'd have that conversation. So things like that is where like the wonderful, things come into place. The beautiful things come in place. So just a short little blurb on where I see, what good can look like. And there's so much more on both of these topics. But going into this, I think it's a great time to go into a sponsor break here. You've probably already seen this if you follow me personally, but I'm going to keep championing this. And I think it's great because one of the first things I'm going to pull up is Head and Heart winning the AI recruiting war by D1 Richie Lampani, who was guest 3 on Decline Invite. Again, follow him, speak to him if you have any recruiting conversations, any recruiting needs. This guy's going to take care of you. But, on the back, I mean, one of the blurbs, recruiting isn't dead, the middle is. AI screens resumes, candidates ghost interviews, recruits ghost interviews, HR drowns in red tape. The lazy are being replaced by bots. The order takers are being buried by the purge. What survives? Head and Heart. I won't read the rest, but I will tell you we had great discussions on that episode. I see great topics posted by him all the time. And that leads me to, real quickly, his second book that just came out, which I will speak more on this topic in a different episode of Short Notice. But Unfinished Rooms, again, by Richie Lampani. Why great employees keep one foot out the door. Man, I just can't tell you how much I have to say on this particular topic. Real quick, they don't leave for more money typically. They left because something was promised and never delivered, because feedback was owed and never given, because conversations that mattered kept getting pushed to next quarter, because the room was opened and nobody came back to close it. So Pick both of these books up on Amazon. You can find them very easily. Just search for Richie Lampani or the topics of either of the two books, or reach out to Richie and, maybe there's something he can do to hook you up there. But want to highlight somebody who is on the Stellar Horn Network as a trusted partner and advisor, especially in the recruiting space. So, coming back from break, where is this going with AI? What's my opinion, I guess, of where it's going? My opinion is AI is not optional. The places right now that still think that AI is optional is crazy to me. That boat has sailed. It's gone. Your data is already exposed. If you are still thinking about doing I guarantee that I will find data of yours out there that you had no clue that was even out there because your employees or somebody else has already placed it out there, and you had, again, no governance and security to go back to in order to protect that getting out there. I mean, the gap between leaders and laggers essentially is just going to continue to widen. Those that embrace it, those that understand at least the premise of what it's doing or what you can try to do with it and embrace it, are going to succeed. There's going to be the ones that are going to have the jobs or be able to get jobs very easily at organizations, and the ones that aren't. Unfortunately, we're seeing that turn in the market right now. AI is a large chunk of why a lot of people, even kind of myself in a way, of why I chose a different route, at least for me, to help others and help other businesses. But those that are dependent on a business picking them up, they're going to struggle pretty bad. Governance just becomes critical, critical, critical. Can't say it over and over again. Critical. And in addition, AI security and business strategy, I mean, they converge. All of those things make up strategy. It's no longer just about AI. It's how AI is sitting alongside of the business strategy now. Like anything the business is thinking about and AI essentially, and how that can help enhance, get them there faster, quicker, more value, whatever it takes. So just AI isn't going away. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people are tired of hearing about it. It's been kind of beaten to death, kind of beaten to a pulp, but it's not going anywhere. And it's those individuals who actually adopt into that and start embracing it and figuring out ways to not only use it, get the value, secure it, govern it, get everybody else trained on it. Those are the places and people that are going to succeed going forward. So, just getting to the closing part of this episode. I don't think I mentioned at the beginning. We're working on trying to keep these under 30 minutes. A lot of these are probably going to be with myself, just speaking topical. I want to be kind of, on topic about whatever's going on in the world if possible. But if you're thinking about AI right now, don't start with just the tools. Just start with, what problem are you trying to solve? What is it that your business is trying to do? And then when you figure out what that problem is, what does success look like? What does it look like when we've solved that problem? We think this, we see this value, we feel what? And then how do you project the business, while you're doing it? How are you measuring that success? Is it milestone based? Is it trial and error? What is it? Whatever that is, go back to that old project methodology of going, what does this look like? How do we track it? And that's just kind of where it starts with AI and where you should see yourself leading into as a business. So, to conclude this very first episode of, I'll just say this is Decline Invite Short Notice. This could have been an email, and I should say, but it wasn't. And I'm really glad to be doing these short versions, these topical pieces. And I'm happy to do a lot more of these. I hope people enjoy them. And this concludes episode 1. So I'm Ryan Drumheller, the extroverted IT leader, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you, everyone. Take care.